Welcome back. We just finished week 8 of the Quest, and so this was our final session for the semester, and the title of this session was A Final Word. So as we do each week, we're talking about 1 Corinthians 16, 13 through 14. Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong, let all you do be done in love. So today we talked about, we started out a video with the soldiers that stand guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers at Arlington National Cemetery, and how those guys are relentless in their guarding of that tomb. Matter of fact, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, since 1937, these soldiers have stood guard to the Tomb of the Unknowns. So we saw a video talking about those guys, but the thing I drove home to the guys today is those guys are so dedicated, those soldiers are so dedicated to standing guard over the dead. What about us? Us as men standing guard over our families, our wives, our children, our households, anybody that we lead. How much more important it is for us to stand guard. So I encourage the guys to be watchful and to stand firm as storms come our way. So as storms come our way and try to knock us off of our post, off of our guard post, there are really 3 things that can take men down. The first is, we covered, is fear. We covered fear, meaning that everyone has fear about something. Men maybe tend to say, hey, I don't have any fear, I'm fearless. Every man is fearful of something. So we use the verse 2 Timothy 1:7. It says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. So there's really 4 kinds of fears: fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of rejection, and fear of the unknown. What is it that you're afraid of? Anything that we can point to, maybe any action, comes back to one of those fears. So fear is one thing that we need to not abandon our post from. The second thing we need to not abandon our post from is pride. Humble yourselves therefore under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. That's 1 Peter 5:6. Sex, greed, and pride take many a man down. Pride is a twisted sense of entitlement. That entitlement says, hey, I work hard, I deserve this. Or hey, my wife's not taking care of things at home, so that's why I had to go elsewhere. It's a false sense of entitlement that we and our enemy, Satan, convinces us that we're entitled to something, so that we let pride creep into our lives. Rather than taking responsibility, how real godly men do, and taking responsibility for our actions and saying, there's some remote possibility that some of this may be my fault. Instead of doing that, many men succumb to pride. So what's the answer to pride? Humility. Maybe something's happened to you that was beyond your control. Pride is not the way to react. It's humility. Humility. And then the third thing we have to be on guard against is indifference. Indifference. Jesus himself said, I know your deeds, that you are neither hot nor cold, neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one of them, or either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. Those are Jesus' words, and that's a cautionary tone to say we cannot be indifferent to our culture, to our families, to the world around us. Men, as Christian men, as followers of Jesus Christ, we cannot be indifferent. Dean Smith, the former head coach of the University of North Carolina, said there is a point in every contest when sitting on the sidelines is not an option. So you may be sitting on the sidelines with your faith right now saying, hey, I go to church, I pray, I give a little bit of money. That's sitting on the sidelines. Getting in the game is getting involved in people's lives, getting involved in spreading his gospel all over this world, getting connected with other believers on a deeper level. Indifference is something that can creep in. So we circled back around. We ended today with Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 13, talking about the armor of God. We can't leave any of our armor at home on a daily basis. We need all the armor that God has for us. So I talked about Billy Graham, and last week I asked the guys to write down some struggles that they have. We had a lot of responses. 24% or so of the cards that I got back said guys struggle with sexual temptation, sexual lust. So we spent some time talking about that today, about how Billy Graham, one of the greatest pastors ever in history, years ago set a rule that he would never be alone with another woman that wasn't his wife, never eat a meal with another woman, never be in a room with another woman, never be in a car with another woman alone that wasn't his wife. Well, here recently, Vice President Mike Pence made it known that he won't have a meal alone with a woman that's not his wife. And so what those guys are doing is they're setting guardrails. They're setting guardrails out of respect for their wives, but they're also setting guardrails with God, saying, God, I'm going to be faithful, I'm going to honor, because that just takes away that temptation. So as we face temptation, we all face temptation. Men, I'm speaking to you specifically right now, sexual temptation is going to come your way. So are you prepared for that? Do you have the full armor of God? Do you know that there's an escape route, that there's a way to get out of it? And then do you have some accountability guys in your life that you can talk to and hold you accountable? So this was an interesting study done by Dr. Howard Hendricks. He was Dallas Theological Seminary for many years. He found 246 pastors who had fallen in their ministry. They had lost their ministry to some sort of moral failing. They lost their families. He asked them some questions. He was able to interview all 246. The common denominator with every one of the 246 men who lost their ministry was none of them were involved in a personal accountability group. And the other three things that he found all stem from that first thing. The second was they abandoned their daily time of prayer, Bible reading, and worship. Number three is 80% of them had spent too much time with another woman alone that wasn't their wife, that turned into an affair. And then fourth, every single one of them said, it would never happen to me. So if this can happen to 246 pastors that lead in ministry, there's no one that's immune from falling. So not to say when we fall, we can't get right back up, ask for forgiveness, repent, confess, all those things. But putting up guardrails. So one of the biggest things I would encourage you, no matter if you're a man or a woman, is to get involved in a small accountability group. Men, find some men to meet with on a consistent basis. A small group, maybe 10, 12 or less. Women, find an accountability group. There's certain things you can talk about with that small accountability group you may not be able to communicate with your spouse. Maybe struggles that you're having, things like that. So make sure that you're plugged in. We encourage all our guys at the Quest to get plugged into an accountability group. And so we heard some testimonies from a couple of guys at the end about how much their accountability groups had meant to them, how it helped them grow in their faith. So I've closed out today again by suggesting a book. We can put it up on our site here, but it's a new book by Johnny Hunt called Demolishing Strongholds. Demolishing Strongholds. So if you're looking for a book to read or a book to go through in a small group, that's a great book. We'll put it up here, a picture of it on the site. But take that book, go through it with a couple of people, and I promise you, you will not regret that. So it's been a great semester here at the Quest. We're finished for the semester. We'll be back in the fall, but we'll continue to update this Facebook page throughout the year so you can keep an eye on what's going on. But as always, you're welcome at Calvary. Jump right in here. Jump in one of our accountability groups if you're in the area. We have accountability groups that meet every day of the week. So contact myself, send us a message on Facebook on how to get connected. So appreciate you joining us these 8 weeks, and have a great day.